Hopefully I can do this in one take. Alright, so today is, well, I don't really need to specify but today is the 53rd day. The 53rd day where I've been eating pretty cleanly, where the majority of the food I'm eating is vegetables and limited amount of meat. I probably eat maybe 4 ounces a day, maybe 5 ounces. But today is the 53rd day, and I know I've been reading some comments on some of my videos about some of the stuff I said, like some of the things I mentioned that's helping me, and some people are like, oh, that shit didn't help me. And I understand where they're coming from, because a lot of stuff, I think, some people just have something different. Like a lot of times, a lot of people think they have T-mal, but there's so many other diseases that haven't really been diagnosed yet that could be similar to T-mal. So when we suggest, oh, these are the common things you do to try to prevent T-mal, maybe you don't have T-mal. Maybe there's some other thing that you're eating, some other thing that's within the food that if you consume it too much, you're going to smell rank. And we don't really know. Even now, I tested for T-mal like years ago, and I got a negative result, so it makes me think I might have something else. But I wanted to make the topic here. The topic is, how long have you stayed on a diet? Because when I really think about, I had this weird odor condition for like 15 years straight. And when I think about the times I had to be on a diet, I would be on like if I had to work and I had to be on a diet, I would be on the diet on the weekdays, but on the weekends I eat whatever the fuck I want. Or I just would try so hard to stay on the diet, but I would just immediately crash like within the second or third week and stuff like that. So I was just curious to see how many people actually, what's the longest time you actually stayed on the diet? And did you receive were there any good results or any reductions in your odor? Are there people out there? I really wanted to make this video because I wanted to hear from other people on how long they actually stayed on a diet, and was it that effective? Like, let's say someone stayed on it for 6 months straight and ate and was very strict, never swayed from their diet, never ate any type of ice cream or cookies or whatever, and nonetheless it didn't work. Now it makes me think, what type of diet did you have and what were you consuming? Because for me, when I think about like when I was in college, the first time I actually started realizing, okay, there's certain food that's actually making me smell worse, is when I was in college. And this is when the intensity of the odor got worse. It was bad in high school, but it was worse in college. Like, for some reason, the intensity of the odor exploded, and I didn't know what the fuck to do. So, but I started to realize, okay, whenever I eat processed foods, I smell bad. Whenever I eat things with sugar, I get worse reactions. Whenever I drink milk or some type of dairy, I get worse reactions. So then I started cutting it out. But even then, I didn't really know what the fuck I was able to eat. So, and at the same time, the majority of the anxiety in the comments and just like the overall stress I had to endure when just being around in the campus, and people would talk shit about me. Even teachers would make fun of me, and whenever I would even go into like the cafeteria, I would get like sort of like, I don't want to say panic attacks, sort of like panic attacks, get anxiety. Is there such thing as an anxiety attack? So much to the point that on the later part of the year, my first year in college, and early in the morning, I would go up into the cafeteria, and there would be like a display where they had so much fruit. They had like, sometimes they will always have apples, sometimes they would have oranges, and sometimes they would have bananas. And I would stock up on the apples, and I would put like 10 or 12 in my book bag, and I would just get the fuck out. So I would just stay in there for 5 minutes and fucking leave. And then every hour I would eat 1 apple. Every hour I would eat 1 apple to like just I don't know, to satisfy my, or just to keep me from being hungry. But the reality was, whenever I ate an apple, I got hungrier for some reason. I don't know what it is about apples, but I always got hungry. In any case, I would do that for like 2 to 3, maybe even a month. I would just eat that. That would be my whole diet, just apples. And then early in the morning, I would get up to run to sweat out the odor, and then I would take like some supplements, and then I would take like I would also take like drink some tea, like sage tea, to sweat less, because I realized that when I sweat more, I smell more, I got more reactions. But within that time period, I stopped, like maybe in the 3rd or 4th week. I stopped getting reactions. I actually overheard one of the cafeteria ladies who would constantly talk shit about me when I would walk in the room, and I would overhear her say some shit like, "This guy always smells like shit." Within the 3rd or 4th week, maybe even the 2nd week, I overheard her say, "Oh, he doesn't smell anymore." And once I heard that shit, I immediately said, "Oh shit, I'm cured. I'm done. I beat this shit." So then, like on that very day, within the afternoon, I went back in the cafeteria, started eating all the hamburgers and all the pizza I could get, because I was depriving myself for fucking weeks. I was like really skinny. I would go running for 30 minutes every day and only eat like apples. So I'd probably only get like maybe 800 to 1,000 calories a day. It was just crazy. But once I started consuming the food back, or started consuming the burgers and stuff back, yeah, the odor came back, the reactions came back. So I'm like, oh, what the fuck? And that was like a constant thing that always happened within my life. Like when I think about just going to school or going to work, if I would go to work, I would eat within the weekdays, but on weekends, I would eat whatever the fuck I want, and then I would still get comments. I never had a day or a moment where I said, okay, I'm not going to eat anything terrible for 365 days until today, or until this year, when I made a conscious decision. And I feel more comfortable being out in public doing this, when I constantly, or when I made the decision to only eat like this limited amount of food. And I'm not saying I don't smell bad. I'm just saying I don't see any reactions anymore, or it's hard for me to pick up reactions like I used to be able to do. So I was curious as to see how many people actually, what's the longest amount of days, or longest amount of weeks, longest amount of months you were able to stick to a diet, and did you see results because of that, or nothing happen at all? You know, so for my experience, I've been pretty clean from weekdays to weekends, and since I've been doing it that way, I've noticed like it's very hard to pick up people's reactions. But at the same time, we're also in the pandemic area. I don't know. We're still in the pandemic, so it's like I'm not able to really go out in public, and I'm not trying to go out in public that much. The only time I really go out in public is like I'm going to the grocery store. You know, I'm not like going to the mall, or I'm going to the gym, or I'm going to a lot of like events and stuff like that. So maybe I still don't have enough experience to say like, ooh, I brought it down to a minimum. That's why I'm not going to say I'm cured. I'm not going to say, you know, I treated this odor, I conquered this odor. I'm just going to say, okay, I just don't really see that many reactions anymore. But I'm definitely curious if anybody sees any type of correlation in terms of the amount of days you went clean on a diet, because I think that's the biggest factor. Yes, probiotics work. Yes, sweating out the odor, probiotics, any other supplements, you know, all those things work if you combine them together in your regimen. But the biggest thing is you completely having a long-term diet, and staying on it for weeks and not really cheating on weekends and all this other type of shit like I've done it all the time. But I think the major factor as to why I didn't want to do it is because, like, I don't know, it's just like it was when you eat whatever the fuck you want for most of your life, and now you have to like go into this restricted meal plan. It's very hard to completely get into it. You're always going to relapse because you're used to, I don't know, maybe you're used to eating macaroni and cheese and fried chicken and shit, and saying that you can't eat that shit anymore. Like, you're gonna go through withdrawals and shit. You're gonna be shit. It's gonna be similar, like if you're like you're a drug addict or something. You're gonna be going through withdrawals and be shaking and shivering because it's like that's what you've been eating for most of your life. And I think another reason why for people it's hard to get into it is because, you know, it's just hard to just go into that and not have these cravings, these intense cravings to eat chocolate or eat whatever the hell, you know. But I didn't want to get into all that. All I wanted to ask is, I really want to know if anybody care to comment. Do you ever see a correlation between how long you ate, how long you deprived yourself of the bad foods and your odor going down? And what day or what week did you notice there was a significant difference in the odor? For me, I feel like within 3 to 4 weeks, you're going to see a significant difference in terms of reactions. But I'm curious to hear other people's input or what other people might think is like the typical day, the turning point where it's like, okay, I'm comfortable enough to walk out in public because no one is going to react to me because I've been on this diet for X number of days, weeks, months. In any case, I'm gonna end it right here. Salute. Goodbye.